So this is what we're doing today. So when you mine diamonds with a stone pickaxe, you don't get any diamonds. But we've written a server plugin that drops 2 diamonds every time. If you would like to see a video series on the basics of Java, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you run into any bugs throughout this tutorial, please also leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So when you open up IntelliJ, this is going to be the first window you get. You're not going to have the stuff on the left here. That's all blurred out for you, but those are just the projects that I've made. You'll probably just have the small square. So the first thing before you click anything is go down here to configure and go to plugins. It's going to open up our plugins marketplace. Go ahead and search Minecraft in here. That's going to give you this plugin right here, Minecraft Development. This will just give you quick access to starting new projects for any type of Minecraft mod. So go ahead and install that and click OK. Once that's installed, you might have to restart IntelliJ. If it tells you that it needs to restart, or if you don't see it, go ahead and restart it. So go ahead and click on New Project, and then click down here to this Minecraft tab. Make sure you're on Java 8, or 1.8 in this case. This is Java 8, but version 1.8.0 release 191. That is what I'm currently using. You could use a slightly different version, but make sure it's Java 8. So go ahead and click on Spigot Plugin and click Next. So here you're going to see 3 things. Version, I like to leave it as this when I start projects because this is totally fine. You can change this later. For group ID, this is going to be kind of the path in which the plugin exists, right? So for like, if I was writing a program for Google, for instance, I would put com.google as my group ID. But I'm not Google and I don't have a website, at least not officially. So I just like to use me.fallenmoons. If I could spell my own name right. So yeah, just use me dot whatever your name is here. The artifact ID is going to be what you're calling your plugin. I'm just going to call it double drops. Okay. And then we're going to make sure we're on Maven because I prefer Maven. That's just a personal preference. So you click next and you're going to get your plugin name. This is what's going to actually show up on when you type /plugins on your Spigot server. So I just like to go ahead and capitalize things. And then the main class name. So you're gonna notice that it took our group ID here and then dot and then our artifact ID. And then this is what our main class is going to be called. I prefer to keep things simple and just change this to main with capital M. Make sure this last word, whatever you put in here, is capitalized. That's very important. All classes have to be capitalized. Okay. Your Minecraft version, I'm going to develop on 1.16.1 because that is what server I currently have downloaded. However, what we're doing today will work on all 3 of these versions. Okay. Description, put a little description for your mod. We're just going to make diamond ores drop 2 diamonds. Yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Authors, go ahead and put your name. For the website, I'm just going to use my Twitch. You don't have to fill this out. So we don't have to worry about any of this right now. And we're going to load at post world. So this just means that the world is going to load before our plugin runs. Okay. So we're going to click next, and then we got to give our project a name. So I'm just going to call this double drops again, and then click finished. After some loading, this is the screen that you should have. First thing we're going to do is we can move this over and we can close this by clicking this little Maven tab, and that can go away. And we can shorten this up a little bit. I would also recommend that you go to show options menu here and you go to compact middle packages. This is probably checked for you. If you uncheck this, things might make a little more sense. All right, so let me actually check that and show you what it does. So when you go down and hit this drop down, this is all of our plugin, right? So like for instance, in this XML file, this is where our version number is, right? And where our artifact ID is, our group ID, all the stuff that is important for the plugin to know when it's compiling. So we don't need to worry about this now, but .idea is going to be all the stuff for the IDE you're currently working in, so we can ignore that. What we really want is in this src, this source folder. So if we click that, and then we click main, and then Java, and then you see this me.fallenmoons.doubledrops, and then that folder opens up to main. So you notice all these dots, they're actually changes of folders. So if you go and you uncheck this, you'll see now suddenly I have a me folder, Fallen Moons, and Double Drops. I just prefer this. It makes more sense to me. You can do whichever way you please. All right. So one of the things that the plugin, that our Minecraft development plugin has done for us is set up our main class all for us. So it sets up our package. This is our thing. You'll notice here we have our group ID followed by our artifact. Our first import statement, this just says, we're going to use the code from organization buckets plugin.java.java plugin. Okay, this is because of this extends Java plugin here. So this is our main class. You can tell that because it says public final class, that keyword. Main with a capital M, it's the same name up here. Extends Java plugin, that just means that we're going to take all the information in Java plugin that Bucket has written for us, and we're going to extend upon that, right? And then so everything in between these two curly braces is our main class. So this @override right here just says, instead of using the onEnable function in Java plugin, let's run our own code instead. That's all that means. So for starters, let's just print something out in the console, right? That's the easiest thing to do. So you can type system.out.println, and then you can use quotation marks for a string. And we're going to say, hello world, with an exclamation point. All right. So the shortcut I use there for IntelliJ users is if you just type SOUT and then press tab, it'll fill that all in for you. So that right there is now going to run when the plugin starts. Okay. So we've actually have a working plugin now. This is it. So let's go ahead and build it, and let's see if we can get that in the console. So head over here to this Maven tab. Click the drop down on our plugin. Go ahead to Lifecycle, and then double click on this package function. You'll notice we get a small window that pops up here, and it's going to do some stuff. You'll see a bunch of stuff scroll through this console, but it should say finished, build success, if you didn't have any problems and if you didn't have any errors. Some common errors to look out for. Make sure you're ending your lines with a semicolon. Make sure you're using double quotes here and not single quotes. So don't type this. Make sure you type this with the double quotes here. Okay. Make sure you're inside of these two curly braces here, and everything should work out. So now we can, it has built it inside of this target folder. You can see it over here, target, and there's our jar file that we're going to put in to our server. So let's go ahead and do that now. We can right click here, and we can go show in Explorer, and that's going to open it up in a new Explorer tab. Your Spigot folder probably looks something like this. You've got your server.jar, you've got your run bat, etc. What we're looking for is this plugins folder. You go in here, and right now it's empty, but we're just going to copy this file here and paste it into this plugins folder. And then let's go ahead and run the server here, and you'll notice Wait a second for it to go. Okay, so once it finished, you notice that just like we said, our post world, so the world generated, and then we have, here's our plugin, double drops, it's enabling itself, and then it printed out hello world. So our plugin is working. We've already, in just one line of code, we've already have a working plugin. It's great. So you can go ahead and minimize the compiler, and you can minimize Maven now. Let's add some more functionality to this by adding a listener. So we're going to go over here to the left to our folder here, right click, go to new Java class, and it's going to ask us for a name, and we can name this whatever we want, but make sure the first letter is capitalized. So we're going to type in, so for example, I'm going to name my class break block. Enter. So now we have our package at the top, and we have our public class break block and nothing else. So the first thing we need to do is just like in our main, this is extending the Java plugin, we're going to do something similar, except we're going to implement the listener. So it's a very similar thing, but it's a different type of class where instead of extending and overriding things, we are filling in the code that is already there, right? So when you implement the listener, the code isn't there, we're just filling it in. When you extend something, the code is already there and we're overriding something. So in this case, we're going to implement the listener. So we're going to implement the listener. And when you hover over it, it's going to give you this question mark here. So if you press Alt-Enter, it's going to give you a list. And we want this org.bucket.event. So we click that and we get new import statement. This just tells Java that we're going to use this listener. This is the one we want, not all the other ones in the list. So now inside of here, just like we did over on this main function with this override, we're going to use a very similar tag. We're going to say @event handler. You can just press tab and that'll fill that in for you. So what this says is right below here is the function for the event that we are listening for. So we can go ahead and press enter and use our public tag or a public keyword. And this keyword just says that this function can be accessed outside of this particular file, aka our main file here, and the rest of the Java plugin can access this function we're about to make. We're going to use the keyword void because it doesn't actually return anything. And then we're going to say on player break block. This can be whatever you want. The first word you want to be lowercase for a function. Every word after that first word is going to be uppercase. This is called Camelcase, and it's the standard for all across Java and a lot of different programming languages. So you're just going to have to get used to using it. So at the end of our function name, and you can name it whatever you want, as long as the first word is lowercase, you can add your parentheses, and you see it turns yellow now because we now have a valid function. But it's missing something. This function needs to take in our event that we want. So in this case, it's going to be block break event. Okay, and it's going to say org.bucket.event.block. And that's the one we want. So we're going to press space. And then we're going to give this data a name. So the data that we're taking in, we're just going to call event. And this can be whatever you want. In my plugins, I like to use E, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll use event. And then we can do space on the outside, and we can add our curly braces and press enter. And you notice that block break event is red and underlined. If we click in the middle there, we're going to have to import this as well. So press Alt and enter, and it should automatically import it. Make sure you have this org.bucket.event.block break event. Now we have access to all the information that block break event gives us. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to check to see if this block that we're breaking is a diamond, right? So we're going to type in block with a capital B because this is the type of data that we have. So it's going to be a capital B block. And you can press Alt Enter again and import that org.bucket.block. And then we want to give our variable a name here. So we're just going to call it block broken. And you notice we have that same Camelcase again. So lowercase first word, uppercase second. And we have to set this equal to something. So we're going to call it, we're going to do event.getBlock. And a semicolon on the end. So now this variable here, block broken, equals whatever block was broken that called this event. So this now runs every time we break a block in the game. So let's do our first conditional. Let's see if this block is of diamond ore type. So we can go ahead and say if, and we put our parentheses, and we say the block broken, and we say dot get type because we want to check the material that it is, right? So we say get type equals because we use two equals because we're comparing. And then we say material with capital M dot, and then here's a list of all of the materials that are in the game. In this case, we're going to type in all caps diamond ore. And we're going to have to import that material again. So Alt Enter, that should import. And then you should see this diamond ore become italicized and purple. Press space, add your curly braces, and enter. At this point, we have checked to see if the block that we broke is of type diamond ore. Okay? So anything inside of these curly braces will only run if diamond ore was the block that we broke. So here's where we're going to do some Spigot magic. So this event doesn't give us like a list of what items are dropping or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cancel this event. So we're going to make sure that the block doesn't get broken. We're going to get the location of this block and set it to air right there. So it does look like it broke naturally, but it didn't. And then we're going to drop our own items instead. So the first thing we're going to do is if we broke diamond ore, we want to cancel this event. So when you cancel an event in Spigot, then that event just doesn't happen. It's like, for instance, if you've been on a server and you tried to break a block in the spawn area and it just kind of appears again, that's what's going to happen. So we're going to say event dot set canceled. And there's that Camelcase again. And then it's accepting a Boolean. So we're going to say true. A Boolean is just true or false. So we want to cancel it. So we're going to set it to true. The next thing we want to do is to set our block to air. So it does actually disappear. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to say, we're going to reference our block again. So block broken. That's that same one that we got from the event, right? Same one up here. And we're going to say dot set type. And that takes a material. So same thing as how we checked in the if statement, if the material is diamond ore, we're just going to set it to capital M material dot air. And then a semicolon on the end. So now the block will break just like it normally would, but it won't actually drop anything at all. So let's go in here, and now that we've canceled the event and set the block to air, let's make our own drops. So first thing we're going to do is we need to create a new item stack of diamonds. Okay. So we're going to say item stack, which is this org.bucket.inventory. So you can go ahead and press space, it's going to turn red, Alt Enter, and we get that in. We're going to give this item stack a name. We'll call this diamonds. We'll set it equal, And then we're going to use a new keyword here called new. This just means make a new object. Okay. In this case, we're going to make a new item stack. So press tab, get the new item stack. If you do Control P, it'll tell you what it's expecting. So we're going to give it a material type. In this case will be diamonds, and then an amount. And we're going to say 2. So we're going to say material dot diamond, comma, space, and we're going to say 2 because we want to drop 2. And then we have a semicolon on the end. So now this item stack doesn't actually exist in the world yet. So let's actually add it to the world. We're going to say block broken for the block that we have. We're going to say dot get world. This is the world that the block is in. And we're going to say drop item naturally. So this is just going to spawn our item stack of diamonds into the world, but it's going to have that little randomization of which direction it kind of flies out at. So this takes a location and an item stack. So we already have one of those. So how we're going to get the other one is we're just going to, in these parentheses, we're going to say block broken again, dot get location with parentheses. So that's going to return the location that the block was at, and that's going to satisfy the first parameter of this drop item naturally function. So we can say comma, space, and then it wants an item stack, in which case we already made one. So we'll just say diamonds. That's that variable right above on line 18. And then we're going to have a semicolon at the end. So now keep in mind, by doing this way, it will not take into account fortune or any enchantments. It doesn't matter if you break it with your hand, it will always drop 2 diamonds using this method. So this bit of code is done, but we haven't told the plugin about this listener, right? So we got to go to main. We can leave our hello world, and right underneath we can just put in get server dot get plugin manager dot register events, and you'll notice it takes a listener and a plugin. So we need to use our new keyword to say make a new listener, and we want break block right there. And you notice when I press tab, it automatically adds these parentheses on the end, and we can do comma, and then it's expecting a plugin. The easiest way to do this is just to use the keyword this. This just refers to whatever class I'm already in. So because this is in the main, we'll put this. If you weren't in your main class, then you might type something like main. But in this case, we'll just put this. So now the plugin knows about this listener. So let's go ahead and export it. So we're going to go Maven, double click on package. We'll get our compiler again. There we have build success. So we're going to go ahead and move. We're just going to copy this double drops .jar. Make sure you get this .jar and not the shaded or original. Go over to your plugin again, go to plugins, and the server's still running, so you can do this while the server's running. So just go ahead into this folder, paste, and replace the file. And now the plugin's been updated. So the last thing we need to do is just type in reload and press enter. That'll reload all of the plugins on the server. So you notice we get our hello world again. So let's go ahead and hop into the server and give it a test. Okay, so now that we're in the server, you'll notice that I have a stone pickaxe. Now we all know that when you mine diamonds with stone, you don't get any diamonds. But in this case, we're going to click here and we're going to mine this block. You'll notice, what's that? We have 2 diamonds from it. 2 diamonds. And now we could do that with our hand. And now we have 4. But because we had that if statement that checked to see if we're actually mining a diamond block and not any other block, you'll notice that everything else still works normally. So that's how Spigot works. It works on this event system. Now keep in mind, you'll notice that our stone pickaxe didn't take any durability, and that's because we canceled that block break event. Had we not canceled that, then we would actually have taken some pickaxe damage. There is a way to just add damage to the pickaxe, but that's a little bit more advanced than I want to get into in this tutorial. So if you guys want to see something like that, let me know. So that's it for the tutorial. Let me know in the comments or on Twitter if you want me to make a tutorial on a specific topic regarding Spigot plugins. I will definitely do that. If this is your first time using Java, let me know if you want to see some generic Java tutorials. Thanks for watching. If this helped you or got you started, go ahead and leave this video a like, and if you'd like to see more from me, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I also stream on Twitch almost every day, and a lot of times doing dev work, so you can come in and see what I'm up to and ask questions, and I will be sure to answer them. You can also send me a message on Twitter or tweet at me anytime, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks. Happy coding.